The head coach of the New Orleans Saints, Sean Payton, back here on the show. How are you feeling? How are you doing, Coach?
I'm feeling well. I'm 100%. It's been more than 2 weeks now. I was cleared. Cleared meaning, I guess, non-contagious and recovered about 6 days ago. And for me, the experience was the first couple days or 3 days of symptoms were the chills, the aches, all the things that we would normally associate with a normal flu. I had a fever on the first day, and the first day I got tested was when I had a fever and the chills. The test results took a while. It was 4 days before I got the results back. And I'm kind of fortunate to be in that group of that 95% group that had it, recovered from it, and now can't get it or can't give it. And so, I would say probably the last 6 or 7 days I felt really good. I went out, got a chance to get a 3-mile run in the other day.
That's great.
And I'm blessed. But we're back into our draft meetings. They began today, and obviously none of the facilities are open for business. So we are at the Dixie Brewing Company in New Orleans East, and our meetings are being held here. There's a conference room. Our scouts are all teleconferencing, Skyping in. There's probably maybe 5 or 6 of us in the meeting itself, Mickey, myself, Jeff Ireland, and we're getting up to speed with technology, and it's going fairly smooth so far.
Okay, so there's a little bit to unpack based on what you just said right there, Coach. So first things first, did the doctors who have been administering care to you tell you that they believe you can't give it and get it again? Is that the diagnosis you received?
That's the understanding. There's a lot of unknown, but they're confident that I can't give it or I'm contagious now. There's a process, and I forget the word they used. Generally speaking, the 48 hours, call it 4 or 5 days, 3 days, 2 days prior to you having symptoms are your most contagious days to others. It would be too hard for me to try to guess where I received it. I spent a week in New York. I was down in Florida for a couple days and then back in New Orleans, and it was that Monday, 2 weeks ago, this past Monday, that I first had symptoms. They are doing some research, and I've inquired, and I think they're looking at ways to take blood from those people that have built up an immune system then towards it, and whether it's through a plasma transfer or a blood transfusion. So I'm kind of waiting to hear on that to see if I can give blood and if it can help. But no, it was. For me, my symptoms were very similar to what I would have known as the flu. I didn't have the respiratory challenges that so many of the patients or the people that have right now and are struggling with it.
And last one for you. Have you checked on Parcells? How Bill is doing?
I have. In fact, I heard you guys chatting before I got on about the horse racing. That's the one sport that's still going. And,
right.
He's got a few of these horses, and he's an avid horseman where, he's paying attention. And the other day we were just sitting around. It was Saturday. It was the Florida Derby was up. So this month has always been a month of qualifying races for the Kentucky Derby.
Right.
An important month. And we put the Florida Derby on, and you can get on a betting app and deposit money. And I hit the Superfecta, which is the first, second, third, fourth place horse, and the trifecta for like $6,400. I had to call Bill. I was so excited.
What'd he say? What's that conversation like?
Listen, he wanted to know. But he wanted to know how I arrived at these horses, and then what was the bet? And I kind of gave him the numbers, and he's like, "That a boy," he was excited. So he's back in Florida right now.
Okay.
I know he's taking care of his health.
Good.
And for anyone like Bill, and there's so many in our country, our parents, our uncles and aunts that are all, obviously concerned and focused on their health because they fall into that group that the numbers aren't so good for. And so he's paying attention to all of that. We speak pretty much weekly.
Okay, and then in the last minute, I give you the floor. What do you want people to know about the coronavirus, Sean?
We're watching it daily on TV, and it seems so simple, and yet when you get out in your car and you drive, but the first off, I don't know that anyone's explained flatten the curve and what that means, but the bottom line is it's like any business. If the curve gets real steep, the hospitals can't handle all those people at the same time. So if we flatten it out, all right, if we flatten it out, they can handle that amount of people over a longer period of time. And so what we're afraid of is what's happened in New York and what's happening here in Louisiana and some of these hot spots is that the steepness of the curve can basically overcrowd the hospitals to the point where, hey, there's not enough equipment to care for everyone. So every one of us can be a part of this thing, the solution. And it's not, I don't want to say it's simple because obviously, man, we're stressed financially. We're stressed with groceries. We're stressed with jobs. And yet we have to stay in, we have to stay away, stay safe. And just recognize, how contagious this thing is. When you look at the numbers of, it's like times 10. And that's where we're at. This month is going to be a challenging month for our country, and I think we can help flatten that curve and then spread it out and give the hospitals, certainly those people that are working at the front of it all, the doctors, nurses, and all the people involved in it, man, our prayers go out to them.
Well, it's great to hear you. It's great to hear how well you are, and it's great to hear that you're investigating to see if your blood can be helpful to make sure that
Absolutely.
People get through all this. I hope you find some positive news on that front, and that you can also be a face-forward individual to get the word out on that
Absolutely.
Important aspect of this, Sean.
Yep.
You take care of yourself, brother. Thanks for calling.
Rich, as always, thank you.
Right back at you. That's Sean Payton. That's a Super Bowl winning head coach from the New Orleans Saints.